Jake from P3 here with a little American muscle for you. In today's video, we're going to go over the P3 V3 install on the 7th gen Dodge Charger. Like most of our installs, this one is pretty easy. The only tools you may need just to get the dash apart are a trim pry tool, and then later on, this is not required, but it might make things a lot easier, a very long screwdriver or maybe just some kind of long dowel or stick. Could come in handy, but again, not required. And the first thing we want to do, like with all of our gauges, is test the gauge before we start the install process. That way you don't get it all the way installed and then find out there's a problem. So with all of our V3 OBD2 gauges, you're going to have three main components. First one is your control box. Second is going to be your harness assembly. And third is going to be your display. So what we want to do is take the display, plug that cable right into the control box, and then we're going to take the harness and plug it into the other end of the control box. And then we want to plug this into the OBD2 port. Now this is designed to turn on and off with the engine, not the ignition, in the default mode. And when you connect this, you may see some dots go across the bottom of the screen like that. That means it's checking the network and beginning to pair. Let's go ahead and fire this Hemi up. Hopefully you can hear me. Sounds great. So right there we've got vacuum. And we just want to make sure that this is giving good data, talking on the network correctly. As we can see, it's working. We just want to make sure this is giving correct data and is accurately giving you information from the network. Before we proceed, we're good here. So let's disconnect this. And now we can get this trim off. The first thing we want to do is drop your steering wheel and pull it all the way towards you just to give yourself some extra room. And then we're going to just work our way around this whole trim and pull it out kind of together. You don't want to just pull right here because it is like an aluminum and it could bend. We want to just kind of gradually pull it all the way out to the left of your center screen here. We don't need to take it all the way out. We just want to get enough access to pop this vent off the back. And this is where your trim pry tool can help. You can also kind of grip it with your fingers, so you can do a little bit of both, but just gradually like that, it kind of just pops out. Work your way all the way around. And then if you peek up inside here, you'll be able to see the clips. And this dash is also pretty rubbery, so it's grippy. So some of them do get stuck, but work your way across and get yourself a little bit of slack built up. And then this vent is actually connected to the back of the trim with some clips. Just release the clips, pull them out like you're kind of curling the trim out, and then the vent will just roll off, and now it's completely loose inside. And then don't pull out on this super far, just enough to get the vent out. We want to do everything we can not to bend this trim. And then we can just let that sit like that. Now our vent is loose and free from the dash. We'll take this over to the workbench and get the display mounted in the top of the vent. So here we are at the workbench. We've got our display here and our vent from the dash here. What we need to do is just remove these top two slots, and then the display is going to fit right in place of them and the cable will run out the back. So you really don't even need any tools for this part. We can just kind of grab on and pull straight out. There's the top slat. You might want to hold the other slats in while you do this so you don't pull more than one out. There's the second one. We can set those aside. And if you want, you can put these in the bag that came with your gauge. Your OBD2 harness would have come in that bag. If you want to keep those, if you leased your car, you might return your vent to stock one day. These are not broken. They can literally just snap back into place. Just an option if you want to do that. And then you can see here that the flap still opens and closes. And then we are going to feed our display cable through the gap on the far left and top. And then we want to make sure that the pink edge of the ribbon cable is on the bottom and that this is not twisted up like this. This is a pretty durable and strong cable. It's also very thin, and it works great if it's only like pinched in half like this, but as soon as you start twisting it up, that's when it can get damaged. So go ahead and press that cable all the way through. Pull your slack through the back like so. And then we might want to put a little right angle bend here on our display cable right at the front. Then this guy will just snap in place of those top two slats, fits right in place of them, no modifications are required. you may possibly, if you can't get the snap in, want a little screwdriver just to make sure it's fully seated, like so. And then you can see that once this is in here, we still have control of our air flap in the back, and then we can still do left, right, and up and down. So there's still plenty of airflow. The gauge does not restrict that. And then we can take our cable and just fold it around the backside like that. And then once you have it pinched in place, go ahead and close the air flap, and that's gonna hold that cable right in place for you. Once you've done that, just make sure you can still move side to side and up and down, that everything's free. We're in good shape. And now we are ready to take this back to the car and install it in the dash. We're back in the car with the display already installed in the vent. And now we need to get our cables routed from this hole down to our OBD2 port, which is right next to the parking brake. Probably the easiest way to do this is to set the vent on top of the dash, and then you can probably feed this cable down just by hand. You can actually see all the way down to the floor. There are a few things the cable can catch on though, so it might get a little caught. And this is where I like to use a long screwdriver, and you can just tuck it in the back pocket of the connector and keep a little tension. And now I can guide this cable down exactly how I want until it pokes out at the bottom. So that's just a little trick that makes things a lot easier. Also, if you're going to do it this way, make sure you have your cable behind the dash, because if you run it through this hole, you're gonna run into a problem because your vent needs to mount to the back of that hole. It can't pop through from the front. So now we have that cable dropped down. We can go ahead and, again, don't pull too far on this trim, just enough so you can get the vent to fit through. And then also go ahead and pull your extra slack down just to make sure you don't have a bunch built up. And then this vent kind of clips to the back of the trim. Obviously you disconnected it before, you know how it went. But I like to kind of hook it into the inboard side first and then roll the vent in, and it kind of snaps into place. So I'll go ahead and hook that inner side, and then there, it just snapped into place. So now we can go ahead and press everything back in. I like to work my way across from this side so you don't have a bunch of slack in the middle to work with, but just make sure your tabs are lining up. Just start pushing back in. Just keep working your way across till they're all snapped in. Just like that. And then if you need to give yourself a little bit of room, you can now put your steering wheel back up. Just like that. There we go, that snapped. Now, we've got our control box and harness here. Go ahead and plug that into your display cable. And then, I mentioned this in all the videos, cable management is completely up to you and your preference. I, in these videos, don't take the time to zip tie everything up because you don't really need to see all that. I'm just gonna tuck this up out of the way, and then however you wanna do your cable management is up to you. Another note is this side trim, if you remove it, gains you nothing, which is kind of funny. You pull this off, and then there's no access to anything. This dash just continues down. This is just to make it look nice. So that's a bit of a bummer because normally you can tuck everything right there. But on this, there should be just enough room right here next to the parking brake to push your control box up in. If I can actually do this right. I just did it a minute ago. There we go. We'll just feed all that up in there. We'll go ahead and plug into the OBD2 port, and you'll probably see some dots up here when you do that, just like that. Finish tucking these wires up for now. There we go. And now we're gonna go ahead and start this again. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me because this car is quite loud. It sounds amazing. Again, we want to make sure that it's showing data. We've got vacuum here that's responding with throttle input. We can cycle through, let's say, over to RPM. And we're working great. And now we can do what everyone, or most people I should say, like to do. Peel that plastic off. Nice and clean. And that's it. This is another pretty easy one. If you've got any questions on 7th gen Charger, either the gauge or this install process, let us know in the comments below. We'll get you taken care of. Tell your friends about P3. We really appreciate that. We're a small business, and word of mouth is huge for us. Click that notification bell and subscribe to the channel so you can see when our new videos come out. We're trying to get lots of install videos out and some entertainment as well. We like to have fun just like you guys. As always, we appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next one.